We're very excited now to be joined by a friend of the show, Dave Smith. We're going to be talking about the fallout here from the U.S. Involvement in the war between Israel and Iran. But most importantly, we want to get to the actual goal here of the Israeli military campaign. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu really giving the game away yesterday in an interview with Fox News where he calls for regime change with Iran. Wow. Let's take a listen.
So is regime change part of the effort here?
Could certainly be the result.
Brett Baer.
So is regime change
Republican journalist at Fox.
We want to get to the actual goal here of the Israeli military campaign. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu really giving the game away yesterday in an interview with Fox News where he calls for regime change with Iran. Let's take a listen.
So Brett Baer is the dude who interviewed Kamala. He's the dude who interviewed Kamala last year before the re-election of Trump.
Yesterday, an interview with Fox News where he calls for regime change with Iran. Let's take a listen.
So is regime change part of the effort here?
Could certainly be the result because the Iran regime is very weak. I think it's basically left with two things. It's plans to have atomic bombs and ballistic missiles. That's basically what
crazy,
Iran has.
Bro.
They certainly don't have the people.
Crazy all the way.
The people would throw these theological thugs out. I mean, they murder them, they oppress them for 46 years. They urine for freedom. Yeah, I mean, they shoot women because their hair is uncovered. They shoot students. They just suck the oxygen from this brave and gifted people, the Iranian people.
He's a war criminal, bro.
I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump.
He's culpable of deprivation of people in Gaza, bro. Deprivation of water, different things needed for survival. He's culpable of. He is culpable of deprivation. It is a human rights violation, bro. So he should be incarcerated, imprisoned. He should be punished for this BS, bro. This savagery, this depravity. It is really a shame, bro.
Oppressed them for 46 years. They've yearned for freedom. Yeah, I mean,
the fact
because
that certain people still endorse this dude
they just suck the oxygen
really
from
trash.
This brave and gifted people, the Iranian people.
I want to talk about the nuclear threat. I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with them in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one. Yeah. Look, they also try to kill me, but I'm his junior partner. They understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them.
When did you tell President Trump you were going to launch this threat?
Look, I've been in constant contact with President Trump. We've known each other for many years. And obviously we informed our American friends and President Trump, our great friend, ahead of time. We did. He knew about it, of course.
I mean, there were reports that President Trump kind of helped you achieve your strategic surprise by publicly urging you not to attack when he already knew you had decided to do it. So you were closely coordinating with the U.S. throughout this process.
Look, we're fully coordinated, but understand that America, under President Trump, will make the decisions that are best for America. And that's the way it is. He understands that I, as the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, must make the decisions that are important for the survival of my country, and he will do what is best for America. That is a relationship of mutual respect and mutual confidence.
I mean, there's so much going on there, Dave. There is regime change. There is the flattery and the lies, potentially, about
Yeah.
some so-called Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. And then finally there is the
Allegedly.
really buttering it up, but calling Trump to join him
To help
in
him
this war on
strike
regime.
Iran.
Just broadly, I want to give you the floor, both to react to that.
Yeah, how is that really America first? It doesn't make sense, yeah. Yeah, this is crazy, bro. I've heard there is a MAGA fissure going on, bro. So, the non-intervention subgroup of MAGA and the interventionist subgroup of MAGA are clashing at this current moment. You have people in the interventionist subgroup who endorse the striking of Iran, who want war to befall, who want chaos to happen, destruction to happen. It doesn't matter if innocent Iranians get killed in the process, bro. Just go crazy, just eliminate everything. Yeah, it is crazy, bro. And you got people in the isolationist subgroup who don't see a logical reason for striking Iran, who don't think it is prudent to help Israel strike Iran, or yeah, bro. These people think it doesn't make sense to keep helping Israel. We have our own issues here in America, domestic issues. We have to care about the interests of Americans first and foremost, bro. Worry about the domestic problems that befall Americans here, the homeless, the veterans, different people. We have to put Americans' interests first. Being a lackey of Israel and following Israel's orders and doing everything Israel tells us to do is not putting America first. It is like certain people say, Jank, and other people who are in opposition to Israel say, it is Israel first. Yeah, bro. There's a lot of drama, bro. It is crazy, bro. Tucker Carlson is getting heat from certain people, like from the Warhawk group of MAGA. People like Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, different people. Yeah. Craziness, bro. Craziness, bro. This dude, Tucker, he's getting called certain labels by Trump for being logical and not supporting the striking of Iran. Yeah, it is really nuts. It is really nuts, bro. Yeah. We will get into the labels Tucker has been getting in another video, bro, but yeah. He's been getting condemnatory remarks from the Warhawks in MAGA, bro, for saying this isn't humane, this isn't laudable, praiseworthy to imperil innocent people, to hurt innocent people, to be extreme, bro. It doesn't make any sense, bro. Yeah, other MAGA people, even certain super fans of Trump, they say it might not be a good idea to approve of this striking of Iran, bro, or go forward with this action, bro. Jack, he said this can negatively affect gas prices, bro. The summer gas prices, if Israel strikes Iran, if there's a war, bro, if a war ensues, if a war befalls, the gas prices here in America could go up. The price could be exorbitant, expensive, because Iran is a big oil producer, bro. So if there's a war, bro, the the people here will be affected. The gas prices will be higher, bro. Inflation, bro. Yeah, it is really nuts. Charlie Kirk, who's a super fan of Trump, he asked if the decision to help Israel strike Iran is in harmony with America First. It really isn't. If you are an honest person, it really isn't congruous with America First, or in alignment with America First, or in agreement. It is contradictory, it is hypocritical to be a lackey of Israel, or be a puppet or a toady or a pawn of Israel, and be America First in all reality. You can't profess to be America First, then follow orders from another country and do everything another country tells you to do. It is suckerish. It is pathetic. No self-respect, no dignity, no spine. It is gutless. It is invertebrate. It is pusillanimous to capitulate, to go along to get along. It is really bad. Yeah, this dude, Trump said on the campaign trail last year that there will be no more war in the Middle East, bro. He's against war in the Middle East. He professed to be against this. He did profess to be against this ish, but his actions don't seem to be in agreement with his utterances on the campaign trail. So that is why certain people like Dave Smith is calling for the impeachment of Trump. Brave Smith should be his new name. This is the reason certain people like who are in the MAGA community, like Dave Smith, a libertarian comedian and commentator, are saying to impeach Trump and calling for the impeachment of Trump, because he's engaging in pro-war behavior when he professed to be against pro-war-ish, to be against striking other countries and being hostile. Yeah, it is really antithetical to what he promised to his voters, including myself, who voted for DJT in November, bro.
And then finally, there is the really buttering it up, but calling Trump to join him in this war on regime change. Just broadly, we want to give you the floor, both to react to that and to the entire situation here.
Yeah, well, it's just you're allowed to throw as many lies at the wall as you want to when you're selling a war. So there's a lot there to kind of unpack. Number one, I would just say, first off, the accusation that Iran was trying to assassinate Donald Trump just doesn't meet the most basic of smell tests. I mean, so you're telling me that the Iranian regime essentially declared war on the United States of America already, tried to murder the sitting president. I mean, so you're telling me that the Iranian regime essentially declared war on the United States of America already, tried to murder the sitting president, And yet, his response was to try to negotiate with them for a couple months until finally we had Israel attack them. Does that make sense to anybody? They tried to murder Donald Trump, and then he entered negotiations with them. Come on, it's too ridiculous. And you could go back. The thing about Saddam Hussein that a lot of people kind of forget in history is that it is true that at one point Saddam Hussein did have what you could call weapons of mass destruction. He used chemical weapons in his 1980 through 1986 war with Iran and was supported by the United States of America while he did it. He then got rid of those
Dave
weapons
is
programs.
speaking
And the
with
neocons and
Sagar and Jetty
Benjamin
and
Netanyahu
Crystal Ball
himself, you can read in his
pertaining
writing in the
to this
90s
Israel
when he was
versus
telling us that
Iran
was a few years away from the
topic.
nuclear weapon. Benjamin Netanyahu himself. You can read
For those
his
who don't
writing
know
in the
who these
90s
people are.
when he was telling us that Iran was a few years away from a nuclear weapon all the way back then. But he was also saying that they wanted to overthrow Saddam Hussein for other reasons, for their clean break strategy. You can read about this in the Project for a New American Century, in the Clean Break memo written by Richard Pearl and David Wormser. They talked about this over and over and over again. And then after 9/11, they said the issue here is weapons of mass destruction. But they always wanted the regime change. And so it's the same thing again. The goal here has been regime change in Iran. He's been open about this. He even admitted it a little bit there. But let's just take them. Look, let's just really assess the situation where we are right now. Let's take them by their own logic. If, as all the hawks are bragging right now, or saying that essentially Israel was already at war with Iran because Iran attacked first on October 7th. Their proxies attacked. And what does that mean? It's like when they say Iran is the #1 sponsor of terror. Do they ever have to back that up with data? Have you ever heard one war hawk proxies attacked? And what does that mean? It's like when they say Iran is the #1 sponsor of terror. Do they ever have to back that up with data? Do they ever have you ever heard one war hawk who makes the claim that Iran is the #1 sponsor of terror?
You have to prove
look, this is how much
your claims to be true. You can't just other-ish, bro. You have to back things up.
Their proxies.
You have to corroborate.
What does that
you
mean?
have to
It's like when they say Iran is
substantiate.
the #1 sponsor of terror.
If you don't,
Do they ever have to
you
back
should
that up with data?
not be
Do they
taken
ever,
seriously.
Have you ever heard one war hawk who makes
You
the
should not
claim
be seen
that
as
Iran is the
credible
#1
any
sponsor of
longer.
terror? Ever show
You
you,
should
look, this is how much
lose credibility.
have to back that up with data? Do they ever have you ever heard one war hawk who makes the claim that Iran is the #1 sponsor of terror? Ever show you, look, this is how much terrorists have gotten support from Saudi, and this is how much
Visual
support they've gotten
proof
from
or
Iran.
whatever.
No, they never even feel the need to make this argument. Compare how much
Arrogance.
money
That
the
is
US
the
has given
reason.
to terrorist
They feel
organizations.
that they know everything, or not that they know everything, but they feel that because they're in certain positions, they don't have to. Like, nah, bro, you are not superior just because you are in a certain position. Nah, bro.
Look, this is how much terrorists have gotten support from Saudi, and this is how much more they've gotten from Iran. No, they never even feel the need to make this argument. Compare how much money the U.S. has given to terrorist organizations, or Israel has given to terrorist organizations, or Israel has facilitated other countries give. There's no objective standard here. But if essentially the standard is because Iran has given Hamas some weapons in the past, therefore they're a proxy, and therefore when they attack Israel on October 7th, Iran has attacked Israel. Well then, what is Israel attacking Iran? Other than the U.S. attacking Iran, right? If that's not, and come on, and look, this is
proxy state. Yeah, same with Ukraine and Russia. It's the same organization.
So but this one is so much more devastating because it's not just that we give Israel the weapons
The
and the money
ammunition.
and the intelligence,
Yep.
but at the very least here, we had people, we had evacuation orders 24 to 48 hours before the attack came. Donald Trump is speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Netanyahu here is clearly saying that Donald Trump knew this attack was coming. So imagine they had that on Iran with October 7th. They don't have anything close to that. So make no mistake about it, we are at war with Iran right now. The United States of America is. Donald Trump has betrayed MAGA, betrayed America first. He has made the most disastrous decision to lead America into another war. Now,
it is terrible, horrible.
October 7th. They don't have
Yo,
anything close to that.
forgot to say this. Molly Hemingway, who is the editor-in-chief of the on the conservative online magazine, The Federalist, she said if a war befalls in Iran, bro, this would be a huge betrayal of the people who voted for Trump, bro. This would be a huge perfidy, a huge backstabbing, bro. Yeah, 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 bro. Nobody should be in favor of this, bro. But as for the people who voted for Trump, and no Trumper should be in, no Trumper should be in favor of this. This doesn't help America. This does not help America at all.
So knew this attack was coming. So imagine they had that.
MTG, who's also a super fan of Trump, she opposed this BS too, bro. Yeah, salutes to every MAGA person who's opposing this stuff, bro. This BS, this goofy stuff. MTG said, if we don't fight for the people, the legal Americans who live here in this country, if we don't fight for the legal Americans who live in this country, the children and grandchildren will be negatively affected if we don't fight for the people who live here in America legally. If we don't fight for the country, there will be, if we don't fight, our children and grandchildren will be negatively affected. She said something to the effect of this. It is true. MTG is saying real ish, bro. Jack is saying real ish when he says the gas prices can be negatively affected if the war happens. Jack is speaking reality too when he says the gas prices can be negatively affected if a war ensues. Yeah. Reality is reality. Give credit where credit is due. Jack is a super fan of Trump. Jack truly is a super fan of Trump, but he's correct in this case.
With October 7th. Everybody knew this attack was coming. So imagine they had that on Iran with October 7th. They don't have anything close to that. So make no mistake about it, we are at war with Iran right now. The United States of America is. Donald Trump has betrayed MAGA, betrayed America.
The ultimate act of treason. Salute to Michael Cole. He said this after Kane joined or formed an alliance again with Paul Bearer. This was in 2010 in the Hell in a Cell match against his on-camera brother, The Undertaker, at the time. Undertaker, Paul Bearer was walking to the ring with Undertaker before the match. After the match, Paul Bearer was with Kane, walking with Kane out of the arena, bro. Yeah. Betrayal, bro. Paul Bearer betrayed The Undertaker in that match. He gave Kane the urn, and then Kane hits Undertaker with the urn after Taker tried to tombstone Kane to hell. Yeah. Paul Bearer, he light blinded Undertaker. The light from the urn blinded Undertaker. Then Kane was given the urn. Then Kane Kane hits Undertaker with the urn, knocking him to the mat. Then choke slammed him after Taker got up. Kane pinned Taker. He got the win, bro. Crazy.
we had evacuation orders 24 to 48 hours before the attack came. Donald Trump is speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Netanyahu here is clearly saying that Donald Trump knew this attack was coming. So imagine they had that on Iran with October 7th. They don't have anything close to that. So make no mistake about it, we are at war with Iran right now. The United States of America is. Donald Trump has betrayed MAGA, betrayed America first. He has made the most disastrous decision to lead America into another war. Now, if they want to say that, look, there is an argument here, I suppose, that perhaps Iran is a better candidate for a regime change than Iraq or Libya was. This is the argument they're going to make. For a regime change than Iraq or Libya was. This is the argument they're going to make. For a regime change than Iraq or Libya was. This is the argument they're going to make. Donald Trump has betrayed MAGA, betrayed America first. He has made the most disastrous decision to lead America into another war. Now, if they want to say that, look, there is an argument here, I suppose, that perhaps Iran is a better candidate for a regime change than Iraq or Libya was. This is the argument they're going to make. It seems a much more compelling argument that we're staring at yet another disaster. And as you were pointing out, Crystal, I heard a little bit of your segment as I was waiting here. Yeah. As you were pointing out, which I think is really the most important point, is that this is the celebrating. And it's just like unbelievable. As 24 hours into it, they're all celebrating how easy this was. Look, I remember, I was a little kid at the time, but I do vividly remember the celebrations after the Gulf War in 1991. And they were like, look how easy that was. And we didn't take any losses. We went on to be bogged down in that country for 30 years following that war. We all remember the mission accomplishment. We all remember Hillary Clinton saying, we came, we saw, he's dead. A few years later, when she was running for president, she wouldn't dare bring up Libya because it was so obviously a colossal failure. So the people celebrating this right now are just, they've lost their minds. And people get swept up in war fever.
The flashbacks, wow. the WMD talk, the like celebratory mission accomplished vibe, in that clip with Phoebe, and I've heard so many others say this, that like they're yearning for freedom. I mean, it's just like, it makes you feel like it's everybody just erased their memories of what happened here. It's utterly insane to me. And to your point about our involvement, let's put this next piece up on the screen. We now know that at least the recent discussions about, diplomatic negotiations and, hey, we're going forward with these talks this weekend was a ruse to...
The supreme leader, the meaning of the supreme leader is the highest position of authority, religious and political, in which the person with the title has unlimited power, unfettered power, unlimited power. This person has absolute power. Tech Nine's album, Bars. This person has no checks and balances. He makes, the person with this title makes all of the decisions. There's no, you have no say. You have no, you are not permitted to dissent. It is, they say it is, there are similarities to a dictatorship or a totalitarian state. They are in control. That the person with the title supreme leader in Iran is in control of all aspects of a person's life, of the people's lives. This person is in control of all aspects of the people's lives. Totalitarian-ish, bro. Ayatollah Ali K.
That at least the recent discussions about, diplomatic negotiations and, hey, we're going forward with these talks this weekend was a ruse to provide cover and the element of surprise for the Israelis. So now you have this report. A U.S. official confirmed to me over the weekend Israel had an operational window to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, but President Trump made it clear he is against such a move. This was first reported by Steve Holland.
Trump said
There is no
he's
reason
safe,
for anyone.
but
Us,
he said, DJT said Ayatollah is not in peril now. He won't get killed for now, at least. But if he fails to cooperate, he could get offed, deleted, ended. If he doesn't cooperate, or if he is non-compliant, he could get offed. It is possible. Yeah. Crazy.
Such a move. This is first reported by Steve Holland. There is no reason for anyone, us, the Iranians, anyone, to believe these reports. I mean, it does also remind me of, during the Biden, they're very upset with Netanyahu. We need to always Barack Ravi. They're very
The
upset.
demand is to surrender unconditionally.
I mean,
DJT
anyone
said
to
those
believe
words.
these reports. I mean, it does also remind me of, during the Biden, they're very upset with Netanyahu. We need to always Barack. I mean, anyone to believe these reports. I mean, it does also remind me of, during the Biden, they're very upset with Netanyahu. We need to always Barack Ravi. They're very upset with him, etc. Anyone to believe these reports. I mean, it does also remind me of, during the Biden, they're very upset with Netanyahu. We need to always Barack Ravi. They're very upset with him, etc., etc. Why would anyone ever believe a word that comes from Trump or Steve Witkoff or anyone else associated with this administration after they've gloated about the fact that they were using diplomatic negotiations as a tool to effectuate, to help kick off this war?
Wow.
I mean, I'm curious your thoughts about this, Dave. I've seen this analysis that Trump was persuaded, this might be true, was persuaded by Bibi that he would have a better hand going into negotiations with Iran if he let Israel start this war and participated, as we've indicated, in starting this war. That is the most idiotic, insane possible analysis I can imagine. I guess it's possible that he really is that absolutely idiotic. But, what do you make of that? Is that really what happened here?
Right.
And what do you make of this report that supposedly, he was the cooler head and said you can't take out the supreme leader?
Yeah, well, I'd say
Really what happened here? And what do you make of this report that supposedly, he was the cooler head?
The voice
and
of
you
reason.
can't take out the supreme leader?
Yeah, well, I'd say Trump might be that idiotic. And, he has, again, we're kind of speculating here, but he has bragged in the past several times about how he's so smart for keeping these hawks around, because then that puts all these pressure on people to come to the negotiating
Like
table.
that he had John Bolton. Yeah.
Yeah, his example was John Bolton, who killed the deal with North Korea. Like, that was his example of it being, like, such a stunning success or something like that. It reminds me of, like, when people brag about the Abraham Accords and what a success they were, and you're like, oh, yeah, they worked out so great. They led to this. Like, no, I don't even understand how you could, it'd be one thing if peace swept the Middle East after the Abraham Accords. You go, oh, okay, maybe they played a role, but it's been a nightmare. All across.
Wow.
The worst fighting that we've had there in 20 years. And so, since our last disastrous invasions. But so, look, I mean, it seems to me like there's a couple possibilities here. None of them are good. One of the possibility is that, which I think is plausibly the case, that Israel betrayed Donald Trump, and then this is just his best way to deal with it. Like, essentially, Donald Trump was trying to negotiate, and then Israel just went ahead and launched the attack anyway. And then, as a response to that, Donald Trump would rather look strong and go, no, I was in on it. It was our plan all along. Or the other possibility, which I think is more likely, is that he was never negotiating in good faith, and it was a distraction, and Donald Trump was in on it.
Insincere.
Either way, we're at the same place.
Yeah.
Either way, even if Donald Trump was betrayed by the Israelis and then just took their side in public, which has happened with different presidencies over the years. It's certainly happened with Bill Clinton after Camp David. So maybe that's the case. But then either way, then you're just so weak and pathetic that even after the Israelis betray you, you'll still come out and catch their back and support them in this war. Well, that's just as bad from the Iranian perspective
Right.
and from any reasonable person's perspective.
Invertebrate.
So, you know, we don't know. We'll probably find out more about this over time. But either way, in effect, it's the same thing. You know, and then we're left
Same
in a
result.
position where you're supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know. We'll probably find out more about this over time. But either way, in effect, it's the same thing. You know, and then we're left in the position where you're supposed to sit here and justify a sneak, aggressive, preemptive attack. Like somehow you're supposed to feel like you're the good guys in an absolute war of choice against a country that does not have nuclear weapons. Let's get real here. The only country in the Middle East who secretly has nuclear weapons is Israel. Iran is a member of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel is not, and they have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and
This is
they're a rogue
unbelievable.
nation attacking six of their neighbors as we speak and are not part of the non-proliferation
Yeah,
document.
we actually
We're
have.
cool with that.
We have a non-compliant nuclear member of the NPT
Terrible.
actually attacking a member.
Six of their neighbors as we.
Proliferation Treaty. Israel is not, and they have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and
This is
they're a rogue
unbelievable.
nation attacking six of their neighbors as we speak.
Proliferation Treaty. Israel is not, and they have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and
It's
they're a rogue
unbelievable.
nation attacking six of their neighbors as we speak and are not part of the non-proliferation document.
Yeah, we actually
We're
have.
cool with that.
We have a non-compliant nuclear member of the NPT actually attacking a member of the NPT who is far more in compliance with said international treaty. Hey, whatever. What do I know, right? You know, what's even crazier to me, Dave, is just like the lead up to the war in Iraq, we already have our Ahmed Taliban. I actually can't believe it, or our 1953 Operation Ajax. Let's go and put B4, please, up on the screen. We actually have members of the Israeli government who are tweeting out pictures of the son of the Shah of Iran, you know, basically insinuating that they are going to re-implement the monarchy on the people of Iran. It's like
Wow.
1953 all over again, and or just like this, you know, fascination with these Western figures who've lived here for their entire lives almost. At this point, we're like, oh, actually, these guys, because we're buddies and they agree with us, the people of Iran will totally take to that, and we're going to implement this new regime. They're not even being subtle about it. Like I said, these are literal
Overt.
members of the Israeli government who are
Blatant.
teasing basically the restoration of the monarchy
Shameless.
in Iran by force. It's like 2003 all over again. We have this buddy,
Dark.
like you said, with the neocons in Washington, and then this theory that we can just go in,
Demonic.
blow out the regime, and then we're going to implement this new style of government. I mean, this is as naked as it gets,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Yes,
on
it is.
all of this. And I want you
Agreed.
to just, you know, go through, perhaps, because you're so well read on the history of these, you know, these attempts by the United States and others to install these types of figures, and it never, ever works out. When are we ever back the right horse in the Middle East?
Yeah, and of course, look, installing the Shah to begin with in 1953 is a huge part of the reason why we have the current government in Iran that we have, which is a horrible, repressive government that does not give their people liberty, and we should all, you know, oppose that. But the thing is that
Yeah.
we have, which is a
Every
horrible,
logical
repressive
person
government
should
that does not
oppose
give their people liberty, and we should all,
dictatorship
you know, oppose
or
that. But the thing is
rulership
that war is so much worse.
or
Domination
domination
to begin with
or
in
tyranny.
1953 is a huge
Yes.
part of the reason why we
Basic.
have the current government in Iran that we have, which is a horrible, repressive government that does not give their people liberty, and we should all, you know, oppose that. But the thing is that war is so much worse. You know, it's like
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein was a brutal, oppressive dictator also, but the worst thing that ever happened to the people of Iraq was George W. Bush invading the country. And, you know, the only examples that people look to, which are, you know, rather remarkable examples of regime change, are Germany and Japan. Now, they were brought back into the, you know, liberal international order after World War II. But what was required in order to get to that point was a clear war on the civilian population with, you know, millions of casualties. And that, like, if your argument is we should bring that to Iran, then don't tell me one word about how you care about how the people of Iran are being oppressed, because that's a far worse, you know, level of oppression. And so, this is, again, as you guys have touched on, this is always how they talk at the beginning of these wars. It's always that democracy will sweep the region and that the people will greet us as liberators. It'll be easy, paid for in oil, all this stuff. But, sit here and tell me about how Washington, D.C. or Tel Aviv can, reorchestrate another society, can reconstruct it from the ground and choose its leaderships. I mean, just think about the hubris involved in that.
Yeah.
As the late, great Harry Brown used to point out when he was talking about the war on drugs in the United States of America, the U.S. federal government can't even keep drugs out of federal prisons. Washington, D.C. can't even solve the violent crime problem in Washington, D.C. But you're telling me we're going to install the new leader for the Iranians and the people will comply because what? Because the regime is so weak and the people want liberty so much? This regime has ruled since
the ego is crazy.
With the most powerful governments in
Arrogance.
the world opposing them,
Crazy.
working on ousting them the entire
delusion
time. And they've still stayed in
is
power.
crazy.
So you can tell me a nice story. It's easy to write down a nice story. Oh yeah, I say we intervene and then we put the Sean's son back in and then everything works out fine. Okay, let's see that happen. And the other thing that I'll add, and I don't know, I mean maybe things have changed to some degree. Certainly Israel was able to pull off that drone attack, which I don't think they would have been able to pull off in years past. But it was in 2007 that the Pentagon told George W. Bush that we cannot go to war with Iran because we do not have escalation dominance against them, essentially meaning that they can hit all of our bases and embassies in the region, and we are very vulnerable to them. And we've already seen demonstrated since the Israeli attack that the Iranian the missiles that they sent last year toward Israel, as many of us guessed, that wasn't really their best. They were intentionally making an attack that wouldn't really hurt anybody, that wouldn't really lead to a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, what an impotent leader to be sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor and telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese. Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation.
Yo,
At the
he's
time,
brave
it seemed like the
for
right
doing
one.
this.
He should,
Yeah.
I supported him this last year. I apologize
This is
for doing
brave.
so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But
Not
he
too
should
many
be-
people will do this. I don't think, but certain. Yeah. Dave, he's salute to him, bro. He's brave. He's
I supported
brave.
him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one.
I apologize too for thinking he was anti-war, DJT, before he got re-elected. I apologize. I sincerely apologize too. I sincerely apologize for thinking credulously that he was anti-war. His actions, they are really not in agreement with the utterance that he's against war in the Middle East. It is contradictory. He's being hypocritical, bro. He really is being hypocritical with this.
I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one, and not on some not on some
This is
ridiculous
brave.
Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is like the.
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters
Wow,
should turn on him.
he's
It's an
brave.
absolute
Dave is
betrayal
brave
of
for this,
everything
bro.
that-
He's
Donald Trump
courageous.
should be
He's
impeached
fearless
and
for this.
removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute
Yo,
betrayal.
DJT, he
of
should
everything that he
be
ran and
held
campaigned on and
accountable
everything
for
that he
sure.
stood for. And I will say,
Fairly,
despite the
in a
fact
fair
that,
way.
Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult. Never do it because they're all a bunch of corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is like the.
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he
It is
stood
perfidious,
for. And I will
for
say,
sure.
despite the fact that
It is
you
terrible.
know, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his
Yeah,
supporters.
not all
He's gonna
MAGA
lose
people.
his coalition
There's
for this.
you got
There-
logical
there-
MAGA people who are not lick spittles or toadies or fawners or cheerleaders. Yeah, you got people who have balance, who bring nuance, who bravely oppose things when if it is necessary, if it is warranted. Yeah. You also got lackeys, minions, puppets.
But he should be
In the
impeached
MAGA
and removed
community,
for this
too.
one. And not
You
on
also
some,
have
not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi.
these
Of course,
suckers
Congress will never
in
do
the
it. They're all a
MAGA
bunch of,
community,
corrupt
too.
hacks.
This is the one thing they support.
But not all of MAGA is toadyish or slavish,
The Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt.
contrary
This is
to
the one
what
they
the
support.
far
This is like
leftists
them,
say,
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should.
or
turn
the
on him.
radical
It's an absolute
anti-Trump people, period. Not just far leftists, but people who say they're Republicans, who hate Trump so bad. Yeah.
Never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is like them.
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he
Perfect.
ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I know, I don't just speak for myself, but I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this. So
Facts.
it's just a devastating mistake. By the way, on top of that, he's also going to lose the deportation fight because of this. Because right now he needed all the political capital he could have to turn that, you got a majority support for deportations,
Yep.
but the minority is very mobilized and they're out and they're protesting all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win.
It is
More war
injurious
abroad and, bomb
to his
the world and
reputation.
invite the world. Testing all around the country. He needed all of his political
help-
capital for
yeah.
that move. So
Just
here's what we got. The neocons
BS
win.
with
More
Iran,
war
bro.
abroad and,
Iran.
bomb the world and invite the world. Testing all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win. More war
The war
abroad
hawks.
and,
The
bomb
war
the world
lovers.
and invite the world. No matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain.
It is funny.
Yeah. Dave, bro, Dave, he really cooked in this, bro. Yeah. If you have integrity, you have to oppose this BS, bro. If you don't, you have to. If you don't oppose this, you have to. You should. Your credibility should get taken away from you. If you don't oppose this, your credibility should be taken away from you. Words. If you don't bravely, publicly denounce this BS, your credibility should be taken away from you. Words. Peace.